Welcome to Out with the Woods. So we have 3 stories for you today. One of them is kind of interesting. It's more of like a mystery, what happened to these people that were living and are now deceased. And the other 2 are missing person cases, but the way that they went missing, that's where the real mystery lies. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to put forth the effort to post 1 to 2 times a week. So if you like that kind of content, consider subscribing. And it really helps the algorithm out if you smash that like button. Let's get into it. The first story that we're going to cover is shrouded in mystery, where the demise of the individuals involved is still up for debate to this day. Viewer discretion is advised. In January 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Russia embarked on a winter trek to the remote Dyatlov Pass in the Ural Mountains. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the group aimed to conquer the challenging terrain and earn their Category 3 hiking certification. So they ventured into the wilderness. The group immediately encountered harsh conditions, with temperatures plummeting down to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 30 degrees Celsius. But despite these frigid temperatures, the group was well prepared. They had all the gear and necessities and everything they needed to complete this kind of a trek. However, what followed soon after would become one of the most baffling mysteries in the entire history of mountaineering. So the group had an expected date that they were supposed to return, and they failed to make that window. A search and rescue mission was automatically launched. So the search and rescue team started working their way up the mountain. Several days later, the search and rescue group finally found the entire team's badly destroyed and damaged tent. This was on a mountain that is known in our language as Dead Mountain. So the first thing the rescue crews noticed that was really odd about the situation is that it appeared to be that the tent had been cut from the inside out, as in like somebody was in the inside and they had a knife and they just totally sliced their way outside, away from the tent. Like something happened in the tent that just caused them to panic to such an extent that they didn't want to go for the zipper. It was going to take too much time, and so they just literally cut straight through the wall of the tent, and they just abandoned everything. They found their clothes in there. There was socks, their shoes, all their warm clothing, all their warm gear, everything remained in the tent. Luckily for the crew, there was still footprints, and they were able to track those footprints to a nearby forest that was just right adjacent to their camp. And in this forest there was a big pine tree, and under the pine tree there was this campfire that looked like it was kind of destroyed, but unfortunately next to this campfire was 2 deceased hikers that were part of this group. The search crew was immediately concerned because it was really odd, because the 2 bodies that were found were only dressed in their underwear. So then they started searching through the snow more, and they're like looking around, and they find 3 more bodies that are located between that campfire and the tent. So these bodies, they showed signs of trauma, like chest fractures, head injuries, and these, they said it appeared as though it was caused by some sort of high force impact. So several months later, under several meters of snow, they actually located the last 2 bodies, and it was really weird because their placement was like off away from the camp in an opposite direction, and they were kind of tucked down into this ravine, as if they'd almost just like been stuffed there. And this was even more baffling and adds to the mystery even more, because the 2 hikers that were down in this crevice, they had all the signs that would point to their injuries being caused from like a really high fall. So that's what makes the nature of their injuries really puzzling. So one of those hikers that was in the crevice had a fractured skull, and the other one had major chest fractures. So the really odd thing that even made this stick out even more is the fact that there wasn't really any external injuries on the people. So most of these injuries were all internal. So it was just really weird that you would have these people that are pretty much naked for all points and purposes out in the snow, and none of them really have a lot of external injuries, anything to signify that damage has like occurred that would like accompany the kind of trauma that they had experienced. Because judging from the autopsies, all of the damage was all like internal. And then the most eerie circumstance to this whole situation is that not only the people, but their tent and all of their gear was highly radioactive. There's been various theories to try to explain the Dyatlov Pass incident, ranging from avalanches to animal attacks to military involvement and even paranormal explanations. Some even suggest that they even encountered katabatic wind, which is like a powerful downward gust that could possibly explain their rush to get out of the tent. But to this day, the true cause to the Dyatlov Pass incident still remains unknown. There's been numerous investigations that have tried to explain the situation and how everything put to all the pieces, how they all come together, and every single one has just failed. So I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think happened to the Dyatlov Pass? It just seems really weird, the circumstances and how everything layered together and just made everything even more mysterious. And then with that added just cherry on top of radiation, it just makes for a really weird story. So the next story takes place in May 2007 in the picturesque town of Praia da Luz in Portugal. This became the backdrop for a heart-wrenching mystery that would actually garner international attention. The McCann family, consisting of parents Kate and Jerry McCann, and their 3 young children, they embarked on a vacation to the Algarve region. So on the evening of May 3rd, while the family dined at this nearby restaurant, a seriously terrible event unfolded. When Kate McCann returned to her apartment to go check on her children, she discovered that her 3-year-old daughter, Madeline, was missing from her bed. So she was totally frantic and devastated. The McCanns immediately alerted authorities and launched a desperate search for their daughter. The news just immediately spread like wildfire. The world followed the case with bated breath, hoping for any safe resolution to try to find their daughter Madeline. As details emerged, a complex web of mysteries surrounding Madeline's disappearance. So the Portuguese police launched an investigation exploring various possibilities. The apartment was meticulously examined for any kind of evidence that they could find, and they had witnesses. All the witnesses that came forward, they interviewed them all very meticulously. But despite this massive search effort and all the media coverage, Madeline's whereabouts still remained unknown. The case took a really dramatic turn though when the authorities named the McCanns as a formal suspect in the disappearance of their daughter. This led to a massive media frenzy. This led to a lot of doubt in the effectiveness of the investigation as a whole. The investigation was essentially closed, but the McCann family continued their quest for answers once they were no longer considered suspects. They established the Find Madeline campaign, which garnered international support, and it raised awareness about missing children cases. Over the years, there was a lot of numerous theories that emerged, ranging from abduction, accidental death, subsequent cover-ups. There was apparently sightings reported from several different countries, although there was no actual evidence that those sightings were legitimate and that she was actually ever in those countries specifically. This case sparked a lot of discussion about parental responsibility at the time, like media sensationalism and the role of law enforcement in handling high-profile missing person cases. The McCann family's tireless efforts to keep Madeline's story alive led to renewed interest and fresh leads. Madeline's case remains unsolved. This is leaving a haunting void in the heart of her family and supporters around the world. So our final story takes place in the summer of 1998. The Bradley family embarked on a Caribbean cruise, hoping to create lasting memories and enjoy a well-deserved vacation for the family. Among them was 23-year-old Amy Bradley, a vibrant, adventurous young woman with a zest for life. The cruise ship set sail from San Juan, Puerto Rico, bound for various exotic destinations. The first few days were filled with laughter and sun-soaked afternoons and exploration. Amy's smile and spunky personality made her a favorite among the ship's crew and passengers alike. But on the morning of March 24th, 1998, everything changed. It was on that fateful morning that Amy's parents awoke to find their daughter missing from her cabin. Panic immediately surged through the family as they searched the ship. They enlisted the help of the crew members of the ship, other passengers, but despite their best efforts, Amy was nowhere to be found. As the ship docked at the island of Caraco, the Bradley family hoped that Amy somehow was able to disembark before them and was just lost on the island somewhere. But days of searching turned into weeks, and there was no sign of her anywhere. The authorities were called in, and an investigation was launched. Conflicting reports and witness statements added to weird confusion within this case, some passengers claim to have seen Amy on the ship even after her disappearance. So this sparked weird theories of like human trafficking or abduction. Others suggested she might have fallen overboard accidentally. So months turned into years, and the Bradley family refused to give up hope. They embarked on a tireless mission to keep Amy's case in the public eye. They appeared on talk shows and news broadcasts. They were distributing flyers everywhere, and they were sharing her story worldwide as best they could. There were several reported sightings of Amy coming from various countries, including sightings that suggested that she might have been trafficked. But despite these leads, the trail remained frustratingly cold. Amy's whereabouts still remained a mystery. The disappearance of Amy Bradley really highlighted the vulnerability of cruise ship security and brought attention to the broader issue of human trafficking. Her family's determination to find her sparked efforts to improve safety protocols aboard cruise ships and shed light on the importance of international cooperation in missing persons cases. So to this day, Amy Bradley's case still remains unsolved. The story of Amy's disappearance serves as a haunting reminder of the dangers that can lurk even in the most picturesque of settings, and the enduring hope of those left behind in the wake of a loved one's disappearance. So what do you think actually happened to Amy Bradley? Do you think it was something like the authorities suggested, or do you think it was maybe more of an accident? Let me know in the comments down below. Unfortunately, there's millions of people that go missing every year, and so this is just 3 cases that I just barely touched the surface of, and this is kind of like that iceberg deal where I could really go into depth a lot more in these stories. If you'd be interested in me going in depth in any single one of these stories, please let me know in the comments down below, and I would be more than happy to make a full-length video dedicated to each individual topic. So as we conclude our journey into the realms of the supernatural, remember that the darkness is never far away. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and never let the shadows catch you. Goodbye, and sweet nightmares.